As Vanessa Hartwell stepped onto the Santa Monica tarmac, the sharp tang of jet fuel mingled with the briny Pacific breeze. She adjusted her tailored gray jacket, the morning chill slicing through the private airfield. Her Gulfstream G700 sparkled under the dawn's glow, its sleek surface nearly blinding. This was her jet, her triumph, though no one would guess it by her unassuming presence. Vanessa, 42, climbed the steps, her flats clicking softly, her mind already on the Dallas meeting ahead. Vanessa ascended the short staircase, her steps precise. The cabin was silent, empty, its cream leather seats and walnut accents pristine, awaiting passengers. She set her briefcase by her usual spot, right side, third row, slipping off her jacket and laying it over the armrest. The flight was a quick Dallas run, a board meeting, then back to L.A. by nightfall. Glancing at her watch, Vanessa noted she was early, as always. She savored these quiet moments before the day's chaos consumed her. Her peace shattered when a sharp voice cut through the stillness. "Excuse me, who are you, and why are you here?" Vanessa turned to face a flight attendant, mid-20s, with sleek auburn hair and a tight ponytail, striding down the aisle. Her face was pinched with distrust, shoulders rigid. Vanessa kept her tone even. "I'm meant to be here," she said, offering a calm smile. But the attendant's eyes narrowed, unconvinced, her stance like someone ready to confront an intruder. Tension crackled in the air. The attendant halted a few feet away, arms folded tightly. "Who gave you permission to board this plane?" Vanessa blinked, almost amused. Was this a joke? "I own the jet," she replied, her voice steady, measured. The attendant scoffed, a harsh, disbelieving sound. "Right, sure you do." Her tone dripped with sarcasm. "Ma'am, you need to leave, now." Vanessa studied her, searching for a hint of jest, but the woman's glare was unyielding, her suspicion rooted deep, unwavering, almost aggressive. Vanessa stood still, her gaze locked on the attendant, weighing if this was some bizarre misunderstanding. The woman's eyes held no humor, only cold certainty. Vanessa stepped forward slightly, her voice unshaken. "I'm Vanessa Hartwell. I own Hartwell Aeronautics. This is my plane." Silence hung heavy, but the attendant didn't falter. If anything, her resolve hardened. "Leave," she snapped, her voice slicing through the cabin. Vanessa felt a spark of irritation but held it in check, refusing to escalate the confrontation. The attendant's tone grew sharper, louder. "You're trespassing. Get out." Vanessa's patience thinned, but she kept her composure. No shouting, no drama. She wasn't that person. Before she could respond, the attendant lunged, grabbing Vanessa's arm with a firm grip. Vanessa yanked back, her movement swift but controlled. "Don't touch me," she said, her voice now icy, a clear warning. The attendant, Lisa, didn't retreat. Instead, she stepped closer, her face twisted with defiance, as if Vanessa's words were a personal challenge. Lisa's eyes blazed with disbelief, something darker lurking beneath. "You think you can sneak onto private property and bluff your way onto a flight?" she hissed. "Whatever game you're playing, it ends now." Vanessa straightened, her stare unwavering. "I'm not playing a game. I'm the reason this jet exists. You don't know who you're dealing with." Outside, the runway engines rumbled faintly. Inside, the cabin felt like a pressure cooker, the air thick with their silent standoff, teetering on the edge of chaos. Vanessa thought Lisa might pause, reconsider. But instead, Lisa's gaze flicked over Vanessa's casual slacks, her simple loafers, the gray jacket slung over the seat. Her expression tightened, as if Vanessa didn't match the image of wealth Lisa expected. crisp suits, flashy watches, older men. Vanessa saw the judgment forming, like a script already written. She tried again, slower. "Get the captain," she said, her voice firm but calm. Lisa's face twisted, unconvinced, her body language screaming that she wasn't buying it. Before Vanessa could finish, Lisa's hand shot up in a flash of reckless fury, striking Vanessa's cheek. The slap echoed, a brutal crack against the cabin's polished surfaces. Vanessa didn't stagger or gasp. She stood rooted, her hand slowly rising to her stinging cheek, her eyes locking onto Lisa's with chilling calm. Lisa froze, her bravado faltering as realization dawned. She'd crossed an irreversible line. Passengers began boarding, their chatter dying as they witnessed the scene, shock rippling through the cabin like wildfire. A woman from Chicago, clutching her purse, gasped softly. A young tech founder from Austin dropped his water bottle, liquid pooling on the carpet. All eyes fixed on Vanessa, not with doubt, but with stunned disbelief. She let the moment linger, the silence tightening like a coiled spring. Her cheek burned, but she didn't touch it again, denying Lisa any satisfaction. Lisa, pale now, fumbled for her radio. "I'm calling security," she stammered, her voice unsteady, hands trembling as she gripped the device. Vanessa moved with deliberate grace, lifting her jacket from the seat and brushing off imaginary dust. "Go ahead," she said softly. "Call them." Passengers exchanged uneasy glances, some edging toward the exit, unsure whether to stay. The cabin felt like a stage, every move magnified. Lisa's confidence crumbled, her eyes darting wildly, as if seeking an escape from the mess she'd made. Vanessa slid into her jacket, each motion calm, controlled, amplifying the weight of Lisa's mistake without a single raised word. From the cockpit, Captain Marcus Tate emerged, a broad-shouldered man in his 50s with graying hair and a stern frown. He'd flown for Hartwell Aeronautics for 8 years and knew Vanessa instantly. His eyes widened, then narrowed. "Miss Hartwell," he said, his voice cutting through the tension. "Is there a problem?" Lisa spun toward him, baffled. "Miss Hartwell?" she echoed, her tone hollow. Vanessa gave Captain Tate a slight nod, her expression composed. "Captain, we've had a misunderstanding," she said evenly. Captain Tate stepped forward, his posture rigid but respectful. "I'm deeply sorry, ma'am," he said, shooting Lisa a pointed glance. "This will be addressed immediately." Lisa's face drained of color, her hands clutching her radio like a lifeline. She looked around, desperate, as if hoping for a way to rewind the moment. "You're not serious," she muttered, voice cracking. "She said she owns the plane." The passengers watched, silent, their whispers stilled, as the reality of Lisa's error began to sink in, heavy and undeniable. Vanessa turned her gaze back to Lisa, her voice smooth as polished stone. "I don't just own the jet. I own Hartwell Aeronautics, this flight, this company, every employee." The words landed like a gavel, each one sinking deeper into the stunned silence. Lisa stood frozen, her mouth agape, the radio slipping slightly in her grip. Passengers began murmuring, their voices low but sharp, some shaking their heads in disapproval, others pulling out phones, ready to record the unfolding drama. Captain Tate leaned closer, his voice a low growl meant only for Lisa and Vanessa. "Apologize, now." Lisa's eyes flicked between him and Vanessa, her defiance crumbling. For a moment it seemed she might argue, her jaw tightening, but then her shoulders slumped, her face flushing with shame. "I'm sorry," she mumbled, the words weak, barely audible. Vanessa didn't react, her expression unyielding. She wasn't here for empty gestures. She wanted Lisa to grasp the depth of her misjudgment, its cost. Vanessa reached into her jacket's inner pocket, pulling out a sleek business card, matte black, edged in silver, starkly elegant. She set it on the tray table with a soft tap, a silent challenge. It read, Vanessa Hartwell, CEO and founder, Hartwell Aeronautics. Lisa stared at it, her breath catching, as if it might burn her. She stumbled back, bumping a seat, her hands gripping it for balance. The card sat there, a quiet testament to Vanessa's authority, undeniable and unshakable. Captain Tate faced Vanessa, his tone deferential. "Would you like her off the flight, Miss Hartwell?" Vanessa paused, her eyes sweeping the cabin, the gawking passengers, the nervous crew near the cockpit, Lisa trembling like a cornered animal. She could end Lisa's career here, publicly, with a word. But destruction wasn't her goal, growth was. "No," she said, her voice clear, final. "She stays." The cabin seemed to breathe again, a collective release, though Lisa's relief was tinged with dread. Vanessa's gaze locked onto Lisa, her words deliberate. "You'll serve me today, with respect, with care, as you should have from the start. Let's see if you can learn." Lisa nodded stiffly, her face pale, hands clenched. The cabin's silence stretched, broken only by the engine's faint hum as they prepared for takeoff. Vanessa settled into her seat, crossing her legs, her calm presence a stark contrast to the storm she'd just quelled. The lesson was set, and Lisa's trial had begun. As boarding continued, the tension lingered like a low hum. Each new passenger glanced at Lisa, some with curiosity, others with judgment. She moved mechanically, offering stiff smiles, her throat tight. Vanessa sat calmly, her briefcase at her side, her gray jacket neatly draped. She gazed out the window, the ocean sparkling beyond the tarmac. The weight of her authority filled the cabin without effort. A reminder to Lisa and everyone else that power didn't need to shout. It simply was. The plane's engines roared to life, the cabin vibrating faintly as it taxied. Lisa's every step felt watched, her earlier confidence replaced by a brittle facade. Passengers whispered, their words sharp, some pointing subtly at Vanessa, others at Lisa. Vanessa remained composed, her silence louder than any outburst. She'd turned a moment of disrespect into a lesson, not just for Lisa but for everyone aboard. The jet lifted off, climbing over the California coast, carrying a story that was far from over. Mid-flight, Lisa approached Vanessa's seat, her hands nervously smoothing her skirt. "Can I get you anything, ma'am?" she asked, her voice soft, almost fragile. Vanessa opened her eyes slowly, her expression unreadable. "Coffee," she said simply. "Black, no sugar." Lisa nodded quickly, hurrying to comply, her movements precise but tense. Passengers watched covertly, pretending to scroll on phones or flip through reports. This wasn't about coffee, it was about accountability, about respect earned through actions, not assumptions. Lisa returned, setting the cup down with exaggerated care, ensuring not a drop spilled. Vanessa glanced at the coffee, then up at Lisa, her gaze steady. "Thank you," she said, her tone polite but heavy with meaning. Lisa stepped back, nodding once, retreating to her station like a student dismissed. The cabin settled into an uneasy quiet, the weight of the earlier clash lingering. Vanessa sipped her coffee, her calm unshaken as the jet soared toward Dallas, the real consequences still awaiting them. The flight continued, the hum of the engines a steady backdrop to the cabin's strained silence. Elisa moved through her duties, her smiles forced, her hands unsteady. Vanessa sat poised, her presence a quiet command. Passengers stole glances, some whispering about the woman who owned the jet, others about Lisa's mistake. The story was spreading, a cautionary tale taking shape. Vanessa closed her eyes briefly, the sting of the slap a faint memory, her focus on the bigger lesson she was teaching without a single raised voice. As the jet landed at Dallas Love Field, the wheels kissed the runway smoothly, sunlight glinting off the private terminal. Lisa's movements were robotic, her earlier bravado gone. Passengers gathered their bags, casting sidelong glances at Vanessa, who sat calmly, her gray jacket folded neatly. Some murmured her name, their tones laced with respect, not gossip. Lisa avoided eye contact, her hands fumbling with her apron. The cabin buzzed with unspoken questions, everyone sensing the weight of what had happened at 30,000 feet. Vanessa waited as the cabin emptied, unhurried, deliberate. She rose, smoothing her slacks, and slipped her briefcase over her shoulder. Outside, the Texas heat pressed against the jet's hull, but inside, the air felt heavier, charged with anticipation. Lisa stood near the exit, her posture stiff, as if bracing for judgment. Captain Tate lingered nearby, his expression unreadable but firm. Vanessa's calm was a force, a reminder that power didn't rush. It commanded through presence alone, leaving Lisa visibly shaken. A man in a charcoal suit waited by the door, his sunglasses gleaming under the cabin lights. He wasn't crew. He was from Hartwell's corporate office, his presence a silent signal. Lisa's breath hitched, her fingers twitching as she unclipped her apron. The man said nothing, but his stance spoke volumes. The incident was no longer confined to the jet. Passengers filed out, some pausing to glance at Vanessa, their whispers carrying her name like a quiet legend forming in real time. Vanessa approached the exit, her steps measured, her briefcase swinging lightly. Lisa stood frozen, her eyes darting to the corporate man, then back to Vanessa. For a moment she looked ready to plead, to unravel. Vanessa stopped, her gaze steady but not cruel. "People forget words," she said softly, her voice almost gentle, "and actions. But feelings? Those stick." Lisa's lips trembled, her eyes glistening. Vanessa's words weren't loud, but they cut deep, exposing the cost of Lisa's snap judgment. "You made me feel like I didn't belong," Vanessa continued, her tone low, deliberate. "Like I had to justify existing in a space I created." The corporate man stood silent, letting Vanessa's words fill the moment. "That," she said, stepping closer, "will cost you more than a job." Lisa gripped the doorframe, her knees unsteady, as the weight of her mistake settled like stone. Vanessa didn't raise her voice. She didn't need to. Her calm was the loudest rebuke of all. Vanessa stepped off the jet, the Dallas sun warm on her face. Passengers lingered in the terminal, some nodding respectfully as she passed, others whispering her name with quiet awe. She adjusted her sunglasses, her flats clicking against the polished floor, each step radiating confidence. Behind her, Lisa remained, dwarfed by the wreckage of her actions. The corporate man followed Vanessa at a distance, his presence a reminder that the incident would have ripples far beyond this moment. Outside, Vanessa's driver, a woman in her 30s with a crisp blazer and braided hair, stood by a sleek black sedan. Vanessa handed over her briefcase, exhaling as she slid into the back seat, the door closing with a soft thud. The faint ache in her cheek lingered, but it wasn't the slap that stayed with her. It was the ease with which Lisa had judged her, the assumptions baked into her gaze, her clothes, her demeanor, her very existence dismissed in seconds. The sedan pulled away, the airport fading in the rear view. Vanessa leaned against the cool window, watching runways blur into the distance. The driver glanced back. "You okay, ma'am?" Vanessa's lips curved faintly. "I'm fine," she said. "Some lessons just hit harder." The city unfolded, skyscrapers gleaming, street vendors calling, lives intersecting in the Dallas bustle. Vanessa's story wasn't unique. Countless others faced the same quick judgments daily, their worth questioned before they could even speak. Vanessa knew this wasn't the last time someone would be underestimated, dismissed in a boardroom, a jet, a street corner. But today, she'd drawn a line. Her power wasn't in shouting or destroying Lisa, it was in staying seated, unshaken, letting the truth speak louder than any outburst. She'd forced Lisa to confront her own bias, to feel its weight. As the sedan wove through traffic, Vanessa's resolve hardened. Never shrink to fit someone else's small vision. Make them expand. The city pulsed around her, construction cranes swinging, musicians strumming on corners, people rushing through their own battles. Vanessa's mind drifted to those judged hourly, their value reduced to appearances, their stories ignored. She'd faced it before, would face it again, but today she'd turned it into a lesson. Her calm had been her weapon, her presence her proof. Real power didn't need fanfare. It shone brightest when you stood firm while others faltered, their assumptions crumbling under the truth. The sedan glided past a glass tower, its reflection catching Vanessa's eye. She adjusted her jacket, the faint sting in her cheek now just a memory. The driver glanced back again, her expression warm but professional. "Rough flight?" she asked. Vanessa chuckled softly. "Rough start," she said, "but worth it." She'd left a mark, not just on Lisa, but on everyone who'd watched. Her worth wasn't theirs to define, and she'd made sure they'd never forget it. As the car melted into Dallas traffic, Vanessa's words echoed silently. Don't bend to fit their narrow view. Force them to see wider. Her story would ripple, a reminder that appearances don't measure worth. If you're judged before you speak, stand tall, stay calm. Your value isn't theirs to dictate. Vanessa's jet, her company, her life, they were hers, built from nothing. She leaned back, the city blurring past, carrying her lesson forward, unshaken, undeniable, and fiercely her own. The Gulfstream G700's cabin still hummed with the echo of Lisa's slap, a 30,000-foot misjudgment that scorched Vanessa Hartwell's cheek, but ignited a fiercer truth. As the Dallas sun blazed 90 degrees Fahrenheit outside, Vanessa's calm, unyielding presence taught two searing lessons. First, never let appearances dictate worth. Lisa's eyes, scanning Vanessa's simple slacks and loafers, crafted a false narrative, dismissing a 42-year-old CEO who owned the jet and Hartwell Aeronautics. That snap judgment, born of bias, cost Lisa her dignity, her radio trembling in her hand as the passengers whispered, their phones capturing her unraveling. Vanessa's sleek business card, matte black, silver-edged, landed like a guillotine, proving worth isn't worn. It's built, undeniable, towering like the 50-story Dallas skyscrapers. Second, true power speaks through restraint. Vanessa could have crushed Lisa, fired her on the spot, 500 miles from Santa Monica, or pressed charges. Instead, she let Lisa serve, her coffee order a quiet command, forcing Lisa to face her prejudice with every trembling step. The cabin's silence, heavy as the 10-ton jet, amplified Vanessa's lesson. Don't shout to be seen, stand firm, let truth roar. As she stepped into the Texas heat, her flats clicking on the 100-foot terminal floor, passengers nodded, awed. Her name, a whisper of respect. Vanessa's story burns bright. When judged, don't shrink. Widen their eyes. Force them to see your 1,000-watt worth, unshaken, in a world quick to measure you by the cut of your jacket or the color of your skin. Her driver's glance in the rear view, the city's pulse beyond, carried her truth. Some lessons cost more than a job. They redefine how you stand tall. What lessons did Vanessa Hartwell's unshakable calm teach you about facing judgment? Share your thoughts below, like this video, and comment to spark the conversation. Subscribe to my YouTube channel for more inspiring stories that empower you to stand tall and redefine worth. Hit that bell icon to never miss a tale of resilience and truth. Join our community, and let's grow together with every powerful lesson.